The Porsche Macan, a compact SUV combining off-road qualities and everyday versatility with the DNA of a sports car. In this plant, 4,300 employees produce over 90,000 Macan vehicles per year. Every single vehicle absolutely individual and bespoke, manufactured to order. A masterpiece of logistics and engineering design. It's mega manufacturing with ultimate passion and absolute precision. The Porsche Macan, the most successful horse in the stable of this legendary sports car manufacturer. The Macan is available starting at around 60,000 euros. With several extras, however, the price tag quickly grows to more than 100,000. In the turbo version, the Macan boasts 440 horsepower. Acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in only 4.5 seconds. Its top speed is around 270 kilometers per hour. The Macan is built near Leipzig in eastern Germany. Production is divided up into 3 halls on more than 145,000 square meters. In the body shop, the paint shop, and in final assembly. But this is where it all begins, in the body shop, the birthplace of the Porsche Macan. On more than 35,000 square meters, robots and people turn pure sheet metal into subframes around the clock. The robots are in 10 parallel production lines. They can change their tool heads within seconds, inserting various screws or placing welding points, adapting on the spot to the demands of the car and customer. 8 hours is all they need for the entire production of a fully galvanized aluminum steel car body. Production manager Henning Steinborn is responsible for ensuring that everything runs smoothly here.
The major challenge? Perfectly aligning all the different elements, engineering, people and material, ensuring there's a perfect balance between quality and unit quantities.
Retaining their outstanding quality and delivering volume, a balancing act for premium manufacturers like Porsche.
Here we have 400 robots altogether. Every day they make 400 car bodies out of 400 individual parts. The whole thing doesn't work without employees. We have 400 employees who, working throughout a 24-hour day, keep body manufacturing up and running.
The subframe of the Porsche Macan originates in the body manufacturing department. Everything begins with the fabrication of the underbody. Then comes the side sections, as well as the top, mostly with a large panoramic sunroof. Finally, this is followed by attached parts, such as the hood, doors, and tailgates. All sheet metal parts for the car body come to Leipzig from different pressing plants. Here, so-called route trains bring the raw components to the assembly stations. The tractor trucks shine blue cones ahead of them to warn other vehicles against collisions. Because it's always rush hour in the production hall. All assembly lines must be supplied just in time when the component is required. The aluminum hoods weigh a mere 17 kilograms. They require special handling before later being installed in the car body.
It's unprecedented in automobile engineering that we put so much work here into a single component. Nearly a half hour per hood, due to the complexity of the component and its component geometry. You can see that it's physically very demanding. requires lots of dexterity and vast experience.
Deburring, grinding, sanding, and polishing. Anything that does not fit here down to the millimeter may later delay installation and slow down production. The processed hoods are taken over by the robot and automatically brought to the assembly station. At the same time on the next line, here, robots assemble the underbody made of steel parts. A perfectly synchronized spectacle with the precision of a clockwork in perpetual motion.
The robots sometimes perform 2 or 3 jobs in a row, swapping tools, providing for complete component handling, gluing applications, and welding. An example of why there are only machines and no people working here: a pair of welding tongs alone weighs roughly 280 kilograms, so it could not even be held by one person. Not to mention the fact that the same welding points have to be placed in exactly the same spot throughout the day.
The human colleagues support the machines in the body shop. In regular intervals, they have to feed the robots with screws so that they can complete their precision work. Car body assembly begins with the inner and outer sidewalls. A robot provides the blank, and a second one applies the special adhesive. Then, the robot inserts the sidewalls onto the car body. Only now will it undergo the final welding. The so-called framer ensures the precise geometry of the car body. The subframe of the 4.86 meter long and 1.93 wide Macan is now permanently fastened into place, and the iconic silhouette begins to take shape. Incidentally, it is based on the Audi Q5, the mid-size SUV of the company within the corporate group. The robots spot weld up to 5,300 welding points per Macan body. That is over 470 million welding points per year, and each individual point has to be exactly in the right place. No tolerance for variances. Then come the roofs. Buyers have a choice of 8 different roof variants in total. And customization plays an even bigger role when it comes to other features later on. In the end, a photo scanner examines the exact workmanship and once again checks all the connection points. The body shell of the Porsche Macan, it now consists of the underbody and platform. The only thing missing now are the various attached parts. The car bodies advance onto the final assembly line via a sophisticated conveyor belt system. Each Macan covers a distance of more than 5 kilometers on the assembly line before it even has wheels. And while the vehicle is still traveling at a walking pace through the assembly hall, out on the road, a finished Porsche Macan can travel at speeds of up to 270 kilometers per hour. Christina Link is responsible for the installation of attached parts. Her production line runs in 3 shifts, 6 days a week.
Here, the doors are custom fitted onto the vehicle and automatically bolted down afterwards. The complete bolting specifications on the vehicle are stored for eternity so that we have a document of how precisely this door was bolted onto the vehicle. Those are the last steps, the automated steps in car body manufacturing.
The pre-assembled steel doors of the Porsche Macan. In an unfinished state, they only weigh 13 kilograms. After final assembly, fitted with interior components, cladding, and upholstery, they become twice as heavy. Since the opening of the Leipzig factory, Porsche has invested over 1.3 billion euros in this facility, and it is always constantly expanding, thanks to the successful Macan model. The sale value of all Macan produced here, several billion euros. The assembly lines are not allowed to come to a standstill under any circumstances, which makes it all the more important to have reliable robots that work as maintenance-free as possible. And what's more, feature low power consumption. Thomas Riediger, head of planning, has programmed the 400-strong robot army for economy.
Thanks to an intelligent controller, we are capable of accelerating the robots only to a level that is absolutely necessary. We save energy accordingly when accelerating and braking. If you consider that there are more than 400 robots installed here, and if we can save just roughly 10% on each one, then that's a really good contribution.
Energy is saved in the halls through efficient robotic use and produced on the rooftops from natural solar energy. The photovoltaic system consists of more than 17,500 modules. The collectors generate 5,000 megawatt hours per year. With that amount of power, an electrically driven Porsche could travel some 5 million kilometers. Immediately behind the assembly halls and the company's own circular track, there is an entirely different world. Here, Porsche has created ecological compensation areas for the sealed ground space. Ines Besko is responsible for the natural landscape.
Now the gate is opening up to our miniature Jurassic Park, as I like to refer to it.
Also behind the gate is the beginning of a 6-kilometer-long off-road track. Here, Porsche customers and test drivers can explore the limits of their SUVs.
So when you're out on this 132-hectare off-road track, you always see lots of wild animals. For example, we have deer here, we have fallow deer, we have field bunnies, partridges. We have an incredible diversity of species here that we would like to preserve and care for in this project.
This is where 245 horsepower encounters the original horsepower. 25 Exmoor ponies and 75 aurochs graze on this managed ecosystem.
Here on the off-road track, in a special area, our customers can experience the vehicle they pick up here. At the same time, we care for the natural habitat, this open countryside. It's our contribution to biodiversity.
And occasionally, an aurochs also lands in the Porsche cafeteria as a sustainable steak. But more on that later. First, we want to return to the car body assembly hall for the Macan. The last work steps still need to be completed there. Workers mount the tailgates and several smaller attached parts. For these final stages, they have replaced the ubiquitous robots. Yet, they still work with the same precision on the skeleton of the most successful horse in the Porsche stable. The completed Macan car body now weighs nearly 1/2 of a metric ton. 480 kilograms of steel and aluminum just waiting to be custom painted and to make their way towards final assembly. But first, quality control. Each individual Macan car body is checked with utmost precision. Shift Supervisor Antonio Calaconde is responsible for ensuring that all car bodies are immaculate.
Yes, we can compare this to a pit stop. The vehicles drive here as if they were on a racetrack. Employees inspect the surfaces, the gaps, and prepare the vehicles properly so that we can hand them off in 150 seconds and send them to the painting facility.
Here comes the countdown. The specialists have 2.5 minutes to correct small deviations using a hammer, a sander, and a screwdriver. This individual quality control is unique in mass production, and for Porsche, an absolute necessity.
As we can see, an employee carefully inspects at least 140 vehicles per shift by hand. He checks for any possible damage or scratches to the surface.
If a Macan does not pass this test, it is taken out of the line and required to go back for reworking. Afterwards, it is reintroduced onto the line and required to go through quality control again. But that should not happen very often because the time to complete a Macan is very tight in order to meet customer demands. After successfully passing quality control, the Macan car bodies advance to the paint shop in the next hall. But first, it's time to make a quick stop in one of 3 cafeterias. It is connected to the final assembly hall where most of the employees work on the assembly line and take a break starting from 11:30 a.m. The preparations for lunch are in full swing. During lunchtime and in the evening, the 4,300 employees can choose among various meals. The just-in-time principle applies here as well. Head chef Norbert Ritzmann ensures that everything is served fresh, hot, and above all, on time. In addition to the daily menu at a special price, there are 3 other main dishes to choose from, along with various side dishes, desserts, and salads. At 11:30 a.m., the time has come. This is when the first huge rush on the cafeteria takes place, because now the workers from the early shift have half an hour to eat.
The greatest challenge each day is we begin at 0. We offer different entrees every day. At 11:30 a.m., employees come from the assembly line wanting a hot meal. We know that within roughly 8 to 10 minutes, 150 employees will come in wanting well-cooked food. They don't like it to be tough. The French fries ought to be crisp. So this just-in-time concept is very important to us.
The workers need to eat in a hurry. Some of them need several minutes to get from their location on the assembly line to the cafeteria. Typical German efficiency. The daily menu is available for €3.90, including a side dish. Today, meatloaf.
The most popular meals, believe it or not, are always hearty foods like hamburgers and French fries. Currywurst, 180 grams with French fries, nice and hearty, even a normal schnitzel, breaded, is a leading favorite, or doner kebab. So there too, we always have a larger food percentage of 20 to 25%.
By 2 p.m. at the latest, the rush subsides. That is when all employees need to be back at their workstations on the assembly line or in the office. In the car body hall, for example, where audits take place 3 times a day, they entail very detailed quality controls. In each shift, one car body is removed from the production line, and a specialist goes over it with a fine-tooth comb. There is no time pressure involved here, only a keen eye and an intuition for detail.
A special sense of touch is naturally the most important skill of all. We auditors have that special instinctive feel in our hands, which you need in order to filter out waviness and uneven surfaces.
Once the auditor has completed his evaluation, he presents the results to the colleagues from the various manufacturing departments. If there are production-related defects, these need to be identified and eliminated in order to uphold the high quality standards.
Otherwise, the rear trunk flap is without any defects, except for the small sanded area that I would write down as a remark, the corner area.
A keen eye for the most minute details, despite the high production volume. True modern mega manufacturing. The next production step awaits the completed car bodies. They come into the paint shop. On a total space of 60,000 square meters, the newborn, naked Macans receive their final color. And that is a complicated process. The first step, a special cleaning procedure for the body shells. Lab technician Simona Clemens is responsible for ensuring that the paint on the vehicles will later have an immaculate shine.
The body shells come to us from the body construction facility and are chemically pre-treated in order to ensure optimal cleaning of the car bodies from grease, dirt, aluminum residues, and prepared for the next steps. We have special specifications from chemical manufacturers, and these key parameters must be met by adjusting the dosage of chemicals using more or less.
The cleaning solution needs to be mixed perfectly. If the dosage isn't precise, the tiniest contaminants on the car bodies could later lead to ugly flaws in the all-important paintwork. Following chemical cleaning is a very special immersion bath. In this tank, the vehicle frame receives special corrosion protection. In the immersion bath, there is a special electro-deposition coating and completely desalinated water with a temperature of 33 degrees Celsius. Between the tank walls and the car body, an electric current of 380 volts is applied, initiating an electrochemical process. As a result, the positively charged paint particles are automatically attracted to the negatively charged Macan car body. The result of the cathodic electrodeposition, an extremely uniform coating of cavities and metal surfaces. After the electrodeposition coating, the car bodies dry at 175 degrees Celsius for 50 minutes. Then they are ready for the next step, the sealing of the welds. Robots and splash guard covers apply sealant to the welds using separately calibrated nozzles. In addition, they seal the underbody in order to protect it against impact from stones. The process engineer, Natalie Matekau, monitors this important process directly prior to final coating.
At Porsche, we work with low-density PVC material. It has the advantage that we can apply the same volume, yet lower weight to the car body, which is relevant especially in the sports car segment. Between 6 and 8 kilograms of PVC are applied to a single car body.
In the process, the sealing joints need to have perfect coverage in order to prevent moisture from later penetrating the car body.
In order to check how our welds will look on the finished vehicle, we produce so-called splash guards. In this process, the robot applies a weld to a sheet metal part, and we are able to compare the welds one-to-one, can take a look at the surface, the joint to the base material, and the weld width. In this case, it's looking very good.
Thanks to 2 different nozzles, the robots can treat both narrow seams and impregnate surface areas. Once the underbody protection is dried, it is finally time to advance to the actual painting. Absolute cleanliness is the highest priority. Not a single speck of dust or a single particle of lint is allowed to come between the primed car body and the final coat of paint. Otherwise, paint flaws may occur, and, in the worst case, individual body parts would have to be repainted. That is why every square centimeter is polished. Now robots are applying the so-called filler paint. Its color is geared to the final paint coating of the car. White for light exterior colors, anthracite for dark exterior colors, and medium gray for the color hues in between. The filler balances out any remaining uneven surfaces in the car body and has UV protective characteristics. It also enhances the brilliance of the paint finish. The filler needs to dry for 40 minutes. Then the Macan is ready for its final color. There are a total of 16 standard colors to choose from. Benedikt Krug is a process engineer and checks the sophisticated painting procedures.
Here you see the pass that the robot completes on the Macan engine hood. In terms of color, you can see the brush parameters that are programmed. In case of process fluctuations, we can intervene here in order to modify the paint quantities, speeds, or paths.
Red Macan, by the way, tend to be the exception. The most popular colors are white, black, and anthracite. For an extra charge, every conceivable individual color tone can be blended upon customer request. There are also regional differences in paint preferences.
Here you see one of the most popular color tones on the Chinese market, mahogany brown metallic. And here on the high rotation atomizer, the paint is atomized into the tiniest particles using this bell. The bell spins at 40 to 60,000 RPM, generating very fine paint particles, and these paint particles are wonderfully distributed over the entire car body.
The paint on a Porsche Macan is applied in 4 layers. In the end, it is 0.13 millimeters thick. That is almost as thick as a human hair. No human being would be capable of applying the paint as evenly as a paint spraying robot. The entire painting process requires some 15 hours per vehicle, including drying intervals.
Because we run a just-in-time production, the sequence in which we complete the paint process is irrelevant. We can paint in red, followed by blue, then immediately in black. In between each car body, the atomizer nozzles are rinsed, and the paint changer is located in the front section of the arm. We use the paint changer to switch the new color to be sprayed. The paint loss that we have is minimal.
Then comes the next highlight, the final surface inspection. Karsten Lippmann checks in the light tunnel to ensure that each paint coat is applied flawlessly to the Macan car body.
With these LEDs and these mirrors, structured light is projected onto the body. This helps us to detect even the tiniest faults in the paint coating. Should there be any visible defects, they go through ultrafine sanding and are polished to a high-gloss finish.
The specialists in the light tunnel have exactly 3 minutes to review the work in detail and ensure Porsche's quality control standards are met. This also includes initial remedial measures in case of the tiniest irregularities in the surface. Good eyes are indispensable here.
It probably looks somewhat strange for us to be hammering around on a freshly painted car. My colleague just discovered a small uneven surface in the roof, and now he's going to be working on it with a hammer. Afterwards, the surface will once again be 100% smooth and the vehicle will be ready for sale.
Other manufacturers do not allow themselves this luxury of genuine craftsmanship for paint inspection. But Porsche holds itself to different standards, even when delivering more than 90,000 vehicles per year. After painting is complete, it's time for final assembly. Final assembly takes place in the factory's 3rd and largest hall, on a total of 60,000 square meters. The painted car body is fitted out to a complete car. Via conveyor belts, the painted car bodies advance into the final assembly hall. Here, they receive the all-important customer interface, the interior fittings, and all conceivable extra features according to customer preferences. This is where customer preference begins to determine the final product and whether their Macan will ultimately cost 60,000 euros or more than 100,000 euros. Final assembly is monitored by Ulf Richter. He is responsible for ensuring that each and every Macan rolls off the assembly line just in time.
The technician has a work area that the vehicle passes through in 2 minutes. We speak of a so-called takt time. This means that our customer cycle, 2 minutes, is a function of the number of vehicles that we are scheduled to build in the work time available. We work in 2 shifts, and the shift change occurs while the line is moving. At 3 p.m., the colleagues all change shifts, which means that actually we are constantly in vehicle production mode.
This means 1,300 assembly workers each have 2 minutes to complete their individual specialized tasks. Surprisingly, the first step of final assembly involves disassembly. The doors are removed again. They are fitted out on a separate door assembly line. By the time all individual parts and the windows are installed, each door gains up to 20 kilograms of additional weight, depending upon the features and materials of the interior trim. An important side effect of separate door assembly. This means the interior spaces in the still exposed car body are more readily accessible to their colleagues. Much still has to be done. Depending upon customer preference, the workers still have to install up to 5,000 different individual parts. For each individual step, there is a special team, each having only 2 minutes. The workers move on an assembly line along with the car body. Once they have completed their work step, they walk back and start the process over again on the next car. One of the key installation components is the cable harness. Here, all the electrical lines in the Porsche Macan are pre-assembled and bundled. They have a total length of up to 3 kilometers.
In this area, the cable harnesses are installed. One of the 5,000 parts that go into the vehicle during the assembly line cycle. Perhaps a conspicuous feature is that we have very few robots here. This is due to the variety. This can be more effectively achieved by employees.
The variety of the parts and the customization concept. It requires special logistics. Because every Porsche Macan is unique and produced according to customer request only. That is why only very broad plans can be made in advance as to which part is going to be needed and in which quantities. A logistical challenge of the highest order. All day long, trucks arrive at the loading dock of the assembly hall, bringing parts for the interior trim, manufactured by suppliers according to Porsche specifications. Every few minutes, another truck arrives. The workers in the logistics center unload. This makes even Tetris seem straightforward. Christoph Friedman ensures that all the parts land in the right place at the right time.
We consciously do not refer to this as our warehouse because we don't have traditional warehousing of parts carried out over days or weeks. Instead, this area is for making parts available to our colleagues on the assembly line as needed, so that they can be installed accordingly on the date of installation. Here in the logistics department, we work with roughly 800 suppliers who supply us every day with the parts that we need in production and assembly. Here, for example, we have a bin containing covers delivered this morning. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, we will be installing these components.
An amazing logistical feat. The latest breakthrough, a fully automated high bay warehouse, all developed by the in-house team. Here, critical small parts can be kept in temporary storage and called up at any time. Bastian Müller was involved in the development of this warehousing concept. He knows the inner workings of the fully encapsulated high bay rack system like no other.
In our warehouse, we have a chaotic storage system, which means that the material is distributed among various places. As a result, we can still obtain material if there is a disturbance in one part of the plant. Thanks to the warehousing administration software, we can swap out the material to various places.
Manage chaos. This motto enables Porsche to make maximum use of the storage room, by each robot knowing precisely where each part was stored. Thanks to chips and barcodes and sophisticated robotic software, this is possible. The third colleague in the logistics crew is Nick McCann. He oversees the vast warehouse racks and the distribution of their contents to the correct final destination down in the assembly hall.
In order to save space, we are running a system of dynamic order picking. Dynamic order picking makes only the components available in the commissioning zone that are actually required for the next 4 or 5 vehicles. All other components are positioned above the storage rack using a rack retrieval device, so that when the component is actually required, it is moved to the lower zone and made available to the order picking technician.
In concrete terms, this means orders come automatically from the assembly line to the order picking storage rack. Wherever a green lamp is lit, an employee is required to remove a part and put it into his trolley. As soon as all ordered parts are on the trolley for the trip, it drives directly to the assembly line.
Because we assemble each vehicle according to customer specifications, we have a huge variety of components in our logistics department. This seatbelt alone has 150 versions that we handle here. In order to allow the employee on the assembly line to concentrate exclusively on the good quality of the vehicles, in logistics, we use a system that enables us to fit out vehicle-specific trolleys and send these directly to the worker. In doing so, we use the so-called pick-by-light system. The system ensures that the employee only uses the components that he actually needs.
At the other end of the hall, a delivery of cockpits has just arrived. They are largely pre-assembled and ready for installation. Christoph Friedman checks several times daily to ensure the proper delivery of the key parts.
The truck has just unloaded these cockpit modules. 50 of our 800 suppliers make just-in-time deliveries to us, which means that these cockpit modules are configured vehicle-specific. No 2 cockpits are alike. There are different leathers, different surface finishes. These modules are delivered here approximately 3 to 4 hours prior to being installed.
The consequence? If a supplier truck with a shipment of cockpits is stuck in traffic for more than 4 hours, several Macan need to be set aside in the assembly line. The final stage until installation is very brief, however. These assembly-ready cockpits do not need to travel even 100 meters in the hall.
Here we see the cockpit installation work step. For this job, we have a handling device, a so-called manipulator. It is necessary due to the weight of the cockpit. It is pivoted into the vehicle, marking off installation sites so that we can find the exact position. The cockpits are vehicle-specific, which means that they conform to the exact preferences of the customer, exactly how they ordered it. Finished features.
Accordingly, this affects the weight of a cockpit. It weighs between 50 and 90 kilograms without the steering wheel. Incidentally, among the most popular special features in the interior of the Macan are leather seats and entertainment systems. With extras like these, the final price quickly increases to over 90,000 euros. There is a special feature in the underbody final assembly. Each Macan is turned 90 degrees along its longitudinal axis. This enables workers to stand upright and work ergonomically. When they are finished with their job, the car automatically tilts back into its original position. Now the all-important engine still needs to be installed. There is a 4-cylinder, 245 horsepower engine. or a 6-cylinder 354 horsepower engine in the S version. And as a turbo model, the Macan even comes with 440 horsepower under the hood. For most Porsche customers, the engine is thought to be the vehicle's most important feature. It is produced in a plant belonging to the corporation in Hungary, and along with a dual-clutch transmission delivered to Leipzig. A very special moment is reached when the engine and the transmission are joined to become one drive unit.
The most popular engine on the Macan is the 6-cylinder version because it's just got more feeling to it and because it offers enough power in reserve. Here we are in the engine pre-assembly area. This is where the transmission and the engine are mated and forming the heart of each Porsche.
Prior to installation into the Macan, the engine transmission unit is fitted out in Leipzig. The generator, starter, catalytic converter, and particle filter are installed in the machine. Then comes the first high point of final assembly, the so-called engagement. In the process, the fitted engine transmission unit is placed onto the front axle of the future Macan and bolted together by experienced mechanics. At the same time, beneath the hall ceiling, the almost completely mounted car bodies float in from final assembly. It won't be long now. The marriage of the car body, engine, and chassis.
So here we are in the heart of the assembly line, the quickest marriage chapel in Germany. This is where the vehicle, the car body, is married to the axles and the engine. 30 marriages occur per hour, which means that a vehicle is married every 2 minutes.
The actual act doesn't involve much celebration. They have to make do with a few robots as best man and bridesmaid. They move the drivetrain with precision accuracy beneath the car body, which is then also lowered automatically. Afterwards, several workers connect cables and lines and fasten the tailpipes into place. That's how it looks. Mass production of a premium car, perfected and automated down to the most intricate detail. The logo and the legend ensure that the soul is sated. On the final stretch, the seats still need to be installed into the Macan with the help of a handling device. 89% of all customers order leather seats, by the way. Shortly before the finale, the wheels are delivered, pre-mounted, tires on rims. The rims measure up to 21 inches in diameter, and nearly all models come in an extra wide version. Now come the very last touches and symbolic finishing. Then the work is complete. A brand new Porsche Macan rolls off the assembly line. Or rather, it hovers off the assembly line. Now, all it has to do is pass the final inspection.
Here, our vehicles are standing on their own wheels for the first time. Essentially, this is where we begin putting the vehicle through the acid test. The control devices are evaluated and fed with data. The axle is configured and the vehicle is put into operation.
Slightly more than 24 hours have passed since the initial parts of the Macan body were conjoined. And then, the new Porsche Macan is ready for its maiden trip. It is one of more than 500 cars rolling off the assembly line in the Leipzig factory today. Sale price, 97,455 euros, including all special features the customer wanted. Porsche test driver Mike Verberger will now steer the car onto the factory's own test track. This is no time for an electrical system to fail, for a screw to be loose, or for any strange noises in the unmistakable growl of the Porsche engine.
All my senses are on high alert, and I pay special attention to my ears in order to simply identify any strange background noises. I also pay attention to vibrations.
The factory driver tests the hill climb assist and the automatic brake for downhill driving.
In order to do this job, you ought to have a technical understanding of the vehicle to analyze where possible disturbance factors could crop up and what the reason for them could be.
At Porsche, each individual vehicle is test-driven by a professional. Over 500 cars per day. Not many manufacturers go to such lengths.
My buddies are totally jealous of the fact that I have such a cool job and drive a Porsche every day.
But a test drive is only allowed to reach 1.6 kilometers on the odometer. A Macan is delivered by then, at the latest.
Everything is fine with this vehicle.
Crafted from 5,500 parts in less than 2 days. From mechanical robots in perfect synchronicity to the experienced touch of the human hand, with utmost precision and absolute passion. Those who wish to do so can pick up their Porsche Macan personally in Leipzig. In the pit lane of the customer center, the new cars await their owners. This vehicle costs more than 120,000 euros. And the next generation of successful SUVs will be completely electric.